On today's episode of Get Falcon Set, today we have some breaking news that broke from last show to now, and we're going through the entire Atlanta Falcons roster and doing a reality check. Who should we keep? Who are we on the fence about? Who should get out? It's time to Get Falcon Set.
This ain't no time to be afraid no more. It's time for bravery. No matter if my homies think I'm crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 3 of the Get Falcon Set podcast. How are we doing today? Happy Wednesday. I think I'm gonna make it a Wednesday podcast now. I think I'm in a roll on Wednesdays. I think recording on Tuesday night, uploading on Wednesday is perfect. But yeah, you heard the intro. We have some breaking news that broke on Saturday evening. The Atlanta Falcons signed Kevin Stefanski as the franchise's 20th head coach. Since we hired Dan Reeves back in the mid to late 90s, he is the second head coach we've hired with previous head coaching experience, the other being Raheem Morris. He was a Vikings assistant for the better part of 13 years, and then for the last 5 years, he served as the Cleveland Browns head coach, won Coach of the Year twice in 2020 when he led the Browns to their first playoff win since 1994, and in 2023 when he led the Browns to a playoff berth with Joe Flacco as his starting quarterback for most of the year. The big part about this is the fact that we retain Jeff Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich stays in Atlanta. And I think that was one of the big points we had coming into this head coaching search. It was, okay, we know the defense. I think a lot of Falcons fans want to get an offensive mind in here to kind of right the ship that the offense is, right? We know how good Bijan is. We know how good Drake is. We'll get to them later on in the show. But to have an offensive-minded head coach that has done a lot with a little, has made Joe Flacco like a career resurgence in Cleveland, made Kirk Cousins what he is, led Case Keenum and Sam Bradford to playoff wins. That's exactly what the Falcons need in a head coach. And I'm happy you brought back Ulbrich. Now the search is for GM, offensive coordinator. We just went out and got what's his name? The legendary offensive line coach. Bill Callahan. 48 years, multiple Pro Bowl offensive lineman. He was the O-line coach for the Browns, Titans, Cowboys, Jets, Nebraska, the Raiders. I like how O-line looks right now. We will get to that later on too. But yeah, I really like what we're doing so far in the offseason. I think Matt Ryan is doing a great job leading the searches we have, and now it's just a matter of time. But with a new coach and a new GM, that means there's no guarantees, right? We don't know what this regime can do. What you've done in the past doesn't really equate to what your future is with this team. The contracts are the most important thing. Where can we find some money? So I have 3 categories. I have the locks, the players that we should keep no matter what, we try to retain no matter what. I have the iffy, where it's either they had good production last year, but I didn't see enough of it, or I don't want to go get them and overpay for them. So that's the iffy tier, and then the fuck no tier, which I'm pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, let's just get it going. The locks, these I'm going to run through fairly quickly, opposed to the rest of the list. But yeah, the locks, Bijan Robinson, we know how good Bijan is. Almost 2,300 yards from scrimmage, 11 touchdowns, all-pro first team for the first time in his career. He is, I think, when it's all said, I think most of the time you see a quarterback as the face of the franchise. I think Bijan Robinson is the face of the Atlanta Falcons right now. But not too far behind him is Drake London. He had 919 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns in the 12 games. We know he went down with the injury. He was well on pace for 1,000 yards if he didn't get hurt. I'm excited to see what it looks like next year. I think a revamped offense is exactly what Drake London needed. I think that Zach Robinson could get the ball to him, but I think he was limited in what he thought he could do. But in reality, if he opened up the playbook a lot more, I think we would have been a lot more successful in the last few years that he had here. The third lock is Michael Penix. This is the one that might stir the pot a little bit, but yeah, Michael Penix, I think he is our franchise quarterback, right? Right now, it's too young to give up on Michael Penix. I don't care he's had 15 knee surgeries. I don't care about any of that. I think that I and like Arthur Blank and Matt Ryan, they believe that Michael Penix is still the franchise guy. They still believe he's the person to right the ship here in Atlanta. And I'm right there with them. I've seen Penix make amazing throws. Of course, you've seen him make some bad throws, but that's just growing pains. I was talking to Michael a while ago. I'm not sure if I told this last week, but look at Bo Nix's first 12 games. Look at Michael Penix's first 12 games. They're almost identical. So you have to believe, you have to wait, you have to have patience when it comes to young quarterbacks. That's the issue right now. We're not patient. People aren't patient enough. They want the young quarterback to start immediately. That's just never going to happen. I think we retain Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates, he had 98 tackles this past year. He had, I think, 2 interceptions. Statistically, it was a quiet year for Jesse Bates, but we know why. It's because he was helping to mentor Xavier Watts, but I think is key in the development of Xavier Watts. I still believe in DeMarco Hellams as a strong safety piece. So the development of those guys really rests on Jesse Bates as our veteran presence in that secondary. Chris Lindstrom, enough said. 4 Pro Bowls, 4-time AP second team offensive guard. He right now is the face of this offensive line, right? The left side of the line is looking really good, right? With Jake Matthews, you can say what you want about him. He is resilient. He is consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Jake Matthews. And the same thing with Chris Lindstrom. I mean, 4 seasons in a row, he made the Pro Bowl and an All-Pro team. Chris Lindstrom is amazing. I think Brandon Dorless should stay. I'm not sure if he's on the last year of his deal. I don't think he is. I think it might be like a second year. Let me see here. Brandon Dorless is... Where is the contract page? Here's the contract page. 4 years. He signed in 24. Yeah, he's still on there for cheap. He's coming off an injury, so that might prohibit him a little bit, but I do believe that Brandon Dorless showed a lot his second year. 8.5 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. I think the risk versus reward is there, right? I think you're not risking too much, but you could get like your star defensive lineman for the next couple years. And then the last lock I have is Divine Diablo. I think he signed a 2 or 3 year deal here, so we have him for another year or two. I don't think we should trade him. I don't think we should get rid of him. He improved the defense way too much. Like you talk about when you talk about most valuable players to a unit, I'm thinking Divine Diablo, because if you remember when Divine went down, that's when we lost to San Francisco. That's when we lost to why am I blanking right now? When we lost to Miami, when we lost to Indianapolis, where we had that horrible defensive stretch, that's because we had J.D. Bertrand in instead of a hurt Divine Diablo. And as soon as Divine came back, the defense started clicking again. So Divine Diablo is a key piece of this defense. And I think especially keeping Jeff Ulbrich, he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve with how he's going to work this defense around. And I think it's really important to keep Dorless and Diablo around. So those are the locks I have. It's Bijan, Drake, Penix, Jesse Bates, Lindstrom, Brandon Dorless, and Divine Diablo. Now here comes the fun part. Here are the iffy players. The players are, I'm like, it could go either way, you know? So the first one I have on here is Kyle Pitts, right? I've seen a lot of people saying we need to re-sign Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is one of the best tight ends in the league. I disagree because of what I've seen from Kyle Pitts over the last 4 or 5 years. He's looked really good in games. He had 88 catches for 928 yards and 5 touchdowns. A lot of that aided from that stellar performance on Thursday Night Football. I think if he doesn't have that, we're sitting here talking about how he's going to be like cheap. He's going to be a cheap pickup he's going to be like a project player, right? But I think with the Tampa game, how he proved himself there, I think he definitely opened himself up to get a little bit more money. I'm not overpaying for Kyle Pitts at all. I have a price. I think the Falcons should have a price in their head that it's like, if someone's offering him more than this, they can have him. Yeah, I know why he slowed down a lot over the past couple years. That's because he had an ACL injury in the second year. I'm acknowledging that. I know that happened, but like with how Kyle Pitts played in those games, not showing a lot of effort, people in the city calling him lazy. So I think that Kyle Pitts left a lot to be desired, especially as the number 4 overall pick. And yeah, I think that's why I'm kind of on the fence about Kyle Pitts. The next one I'm on the fence about might be a little bit of a surprise. It's Darnell Mooney. I love the signing when we first got him early 2024, but especially this past season with the broken collarbone that was hidden that we didn't know about. 32 catches, 443, and a touchdown. 1 year left on his contract. I think you can make a very strong argument that it's time to move on from Darnell Mooney. I love Darnell Mooney. He looked efficient when he was active this past year. I do think he does have 1 more year in his contract. I will say that. So it could very well be something like, hey, give him an offseason to rest, recover, and then he's back to the Darnell we had last year that almost put up 1,000 yards. It could swing either way. That's why I'm on the fence about it. Again, these are players that are on the fence. I could lean one way or the other way. I don't fully know yet. The third one, I think the third one is the most interesting on here, and that's Caden Ellis. I think for a lot of people he would be a lock, but hear me out. 107 tackles, 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception. He is one of the better linebackers in the NFC, believe it or not. Caden Ellis. The Falcons have a knack for producing really good linebackers. I don't know why. Foye Oluokun, Nate Landman, and now Caden Ellis. He would be a lock for me. Most of the time, I think 99% of the time, it would be a lock for me. But because he's going into free agency, and I don't know what the market is for linebackers like Caden Ellis, I'm not paying too much for Caden Ellis. Right? I'm not going to hand him a blank check. He's not a blank check type of player. But I would love to have him back next year for the right price. I would love to keep that defense going, but I don't know what he's going to look like or what that cap is going to look like. The next player is Zane Gonzalez. He had a good number of field goals blocked. He made 19 for 22, 17 for 18 on extra points. His longest was 56. I could see us doing a kicking competition in training camp. I could see like us bringing in Lenny Krieg, the German kicker we have in our pipeline right now. I could see us bringing in a couple more guys, maybe an undrafted free agent or two. Showing some diversity in that kicking room. I think if it's needed, I think competition is great, especially for a kicker. And I do think Zane can win that job. I do think Zane can be our kicker. It's just a matter of we need to figure out exactly what we have, what we need, find a good option for him. The next one is probably the second most interesting one on here is D. Alford. 67 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 3 picks, 13 passes defense. He stepped up huge in the absence of Mike Hughes and Billy Bowman. It's really funny because all year I was thinking about how D. Alford was public enemy number 1 in 2024. We all remember the play in Minnesota where he's looking lost and he trips and Justin Jefferson has a wide open touchdown. He was probably going to be number 1 in Atlanta, but he really turned it around. I think he won back a lot of people, including myself. That's why I'm more iffy about him than get him out of here. I'm a fan of D. Alford. I did not. If you would have told me last year I would have said I was a fan of D. Alford, I probably would have slapped you. That's just how much he's improved. On the other hand, Clark Phillips. I wanted Clark Phillips to be good so bad. In his 2 starts in 24, he played decent. He had an interception, but he was hurt this year. One tackle in 1 game. He hasn't been able to find the field, and I'm pretty sure this would be the Might be the last year of his contract, actually, because he was a 4th-round pick. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I would love to get Clark Phillips back. I think he has the potential to be good. I just need him to get on the field. We do have him for another year. So that's someone I could see us trading away as like a future piece, but I mean, we just got to see it. And then the last one on this list is Caleb McGarry. We have 2 more years for Caleb McGarry regardless. However, I could very well see us trading him because we don't know what he's going to look like post-injury. He went down with a significant knee injury in training camp. He didn't play all of 2025. He didn't disappoint in 2024 either. But I could very well see the team trying to find a healthier option for Michael Penix's blind side, because left-handed quarterbacks, the blind side is the right side. We got the left side figured out. Right side right now we have Burge and right now McGarry. And I could very well see us trying to find someone healthier, more consistent for that blind side. So those are my on the fences. Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Caden Ellis, Zane Gonzalez, D. Alford, Clark Phillips, Caleb McGarry. I am more or less leaning yes, keep on D. Alford, Caden Ellis, Zane, and Caleb McGarry. Those are like the ones I'm leaning yes on. Everyone else, I think it's time. It might be time to say goodbye. But now the last one on here, it's the Falcon tier, the tier where you shouldn't be on the roster next year. And I'm going to start off with the man who had 12 penalties, led the NFL with 12 penalties, was a turnstile on that offensive line, and that's Elijah Wilkinson. He played horrible. Of course, he was in a bad situation, having to try and fill in for Caleb McGarry when he went down, but he played so bad. He is going to be a free agent this upcoming season. I think you just let him walk. I don't think you even entertain the idea of re-signing him. I think you just let him bye. See you next time. The next one I have on here is JD Bertrand. I think we all wanted JD Bertrand to be really good. Did he go to Washington, I want to say? 35 tackles, 2 passes to defense, 15 games, 2 starts. So 2 starts were because of the injury to Devon Diablo, which is when he got most of his playing time. But in those times, he looked horrible. I think Devon Diablo is just that much better than JD Bertrand. I know you have another 2 years of Bertrand, but I think you go try to trade him if you don't want to keep him as a depth piece. Yeah, I did not like how JD Bertrand played, but another guy who didn't like how he played this past season was Natron Brooks. He lost a fumble. He had 1 start in 17 games. He was our kick returner for the most of the year. 10 tackles, 2 passes to defense. He costed us multiple games, and I remember vividly the Carolina game, the second Carolina game, the one that went to overtime. He had a crucial fumble after Carolina went down and scored, and they went down and scored again right after that, and that really set up the comeback for Carolina. So to have someone who routinely shot you in the foot this past season, I think you gotta part ways with them. And the last guy, to no one's surprise, is Kirk Cousins. The restructured contract. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Kirk Cousins would not be Atlanta Falcon in 2026. And I think that's okay. Kirk Cousins, he played an important role in what we did here over the last 2 years. He helped with the development of Michael Penix. We had some good times with him. I'm thinking all the Tampa games, the Rams game, a lot of good memories with Kirk Cousins. So it's going to be bittersweet, but it has to happen. I think Kirk Cousins is gone after this season with the Atlanta Falcons, and those are my. Please get them off the roster. It's Elijah Wilkinson, JD Bertrand, Natron Brooks, and Kirk Cousins. Now, looking at the roster overall as a whole, I think we have a lot of positions filled. I think we have a few strengths and a couple of weaknesses, right? I think strength wise, I'm looking edge, right? I'm thinking JPJ and Jalen Walker, Leonard Floyd, all those guys coming off the edge. I think that's the strength of this team. The strength of this team is the edge, the pass rush coming from the edge, which is insane to say at any point being an Atlanta Falcons fan. I also think we have a strength on running back. Whether or not we keep or move Tyler Algier, I didn't hate our backup Carter. Can't remember his first name, but yeah, but what didn't hate Carter for the most part. And then, Bijan is Bijan. I do think we overinvested on the edge though. I think we could afford to move maybe one person, and I guess that would be Arnold Ebiketie if we don't keep him. I would love to retain him. I would love to have a pass rush rotation of 4 different guys who could all get after the quarterback. But I know that sometimes this is not possible. And so I think somebody could go to help fill out some more space. When it comes to weaknesses, I think one of our bigger weaknesses is wide receiver, right? And I don't think it was coming into the season, but I think you can't go into next year with a receiving core of Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and then David Sills. I think you need to go out and find some more pieces, whether you go out in free agency or you make some moves in the draft or you help with the development of Nick Nash. You do something to where you can get some more wide receivers. Because, I mean, we saw it. We were pulling up people you really haven't really heard of as an Atlanta Falcons. So I think receivers, one of the things you need to check up on. I think corner is another thing. Not so much a weakness, but something we need to definitely keep an eye on. We all know how good AJ is. We're still trying to figure out how good D. Alford is. We don't know how Billy Bowman's going to look post-injury. We think we know how good Mike Hughes is, but I would like a lot more, what's the word, depth in that cornerback room. As well as I want to see some more stars on the interior defensive line. We know how good Brandon Dorless is. We know how good Ruka Roro can be. We know how good David Onyemata can be. We know how good Morgan Fox could be when he played for, I think, a game or two. But I need more. I need some more people in the middle to stop the run, because that was one of our weaknesses this past year, was stopping the run. Give me offensive tackle. I think we need to have a correct succession plan in place for Jake Matthews, as well as trying to figure out what's going on that right side. Are we keeping Caleb McGarry? Are we going to try and bring in a replacement behind him? Maybe motivate him a little bit, figure out what's going on with that knee injury. What are we going to do there? And then I think tight end. I think if you let Kyle Pitts walk, you need to go find another one. Even if you don't let Kyle Pitts walk, you need to find another one. Because Stefanski, what I heard, loves to run 2 tight end sets. I'm gonna look more into the film of the Cleveland Browns and Minnesota Vikings next week for the fourth episode of this, where we're breaking down everything having to do with Kevin Stefanski and the new faces in Atlanta. But I don't want to see us run 2 tight end sets with Kyle Pitts and Charlie Warner. I don't think it works. So I need to see another face there in the tight end room. I think we do need clarity on who's going to be our kicker, because that's one of the big questions we're trying to figure out this offseason, as well as who's going to be our quarterback, who's going to be QB week 1. So I have 3 things here: urgent, not so urgent, and then what'll define this regime. I think urgently you need to figure out the first thing on your bucket list, the first thing on that bulletin board: who is your week 1 quarterback? Answer that question, and I think we'll be fine. And then I think you also need to figure out what you're doing at offensive tackle. You need to figure out how you're going to keep Michael Penix's blind side safe whenever he comes back. I think not so urgent. I think you might be able to wait a little bit on corner. You might be able to wait a little bit on receiver, but those are still 2 position groups that I would definitely recommend going to get. And now, what moves will we make that will define this regime? It's like, I'm thinking like the Arthur Smith regime was defined by the Kyle Pitts pick, right? And the Raheem Morris regime was defined by the Michael Penix pick. And the Dan Quinn regime was defined by all the defensive players we swung and missed on. The Mike Smith regime was defined by that amazing offense we had, all those weapons. I think this regime will be defined by what they do with Kyle Pitts and who we end up getting at quarterback week 1. Do you go try to find yourself a veteran? Do you not believe in Penix? Do you go try and find yourself another long-term option? Those are the questions we have this offseason, and we're hoping to answer a lot of them, hopefully as soon as the offseason starts. Yeah, and that's all I got for today's episode of Get Falcon Set. Next week, well, keep in mind, next Tuesday is Kevin Stefanski's introductory press conference at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I believe at 10 o'clock. That's when all the 10 or 11. That's when all the other interviews are that we have. I'll be listening along to that. I'll keep y'all updated on Instagram, on Twitter. Yeah, we're just gonna break down a new regime. I do anticipate that we will get a GM hire in the next week before the press conference. I think that press conference will introduce fully the new regime of what we're doing here in Atlanta. Let me check Twitter right quick to make sure there's no breaking news that just broke that I need to quickly go over. I don't think there is, though. It's 2:30. I'm recording this at 2:30 in the morning. So I don't think there's anything that can break this late for the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Twitter's taking 15 years to load. I'm just waiting to see the breaking. Doesn't quite look like it. Let me go to their Twitter account. Let's see here. Yeah, no, nothing's broken yet, so we should be fine for now. Yeah, and next week we'll talk over the entire new regime, and what you can expect to see, as the Atlanta Falcons continue to soar their way into 2026. Still trying to figure out a great intro for this. I ain't got it down yet, but this has been Get Falcon Said. I've been James. Might not be James tomorrow, but we'll see you guys next week. Peace.